Hey, Ashley here, and in this free training, I'm going to take you through how you can go from not having enough leads, maybe inconsistent marketing, to actually booking 10 qualified sales calls every single week, having that consistent pipeline coming through and adding 10 grand a month to your business within at least the next 90 days. Now, whether you are running an agency, a service business, I'm going to show you how I help guys who are running their business, operating their business in the grind of it like every single day, actually get some systems so that they can have repeatable client acquisition and lead generation in their businesses. And from that point, get that nice, clear roadmap to go from where they are now to 30, 40, and 50 grand months. So if you're currently running a business and you are currently at like 5K-ish a month and you feel like you're winging it or you haven't got a proper system at the moment, this video is exactly for you. Now, before I do jump into it, I just want to give you a little bit of background about myself. So I started my first company at 22 years old. Of all things, that was a cleaning company, but we built that business to about 1.2 million within 24 months of getting that started. Scaled that up, had about 250 staff, and then exited that business to start the second company, which was a membership-based business, and we got that to 25 grand a month within the first 6 months. Now from there, we made a slight pivot into more of an agency done-for-you space. And again, we just used the same systems that I'm going to walk through here. We got that business to 30 grand a month in well under 3 months. And as I say, all of those companies, we just used the same core systems that I'm going to walk through with you right here in this training. Now what I do is coach ambitious guys who are good at what they do. They're grafting in their business. They're trying to build something, but they haven't got that repeatable client acquisition system in their business at this point. Feel like they're winging it a little bit. The leads are inconsistent and they're just tired of trying to juggle everything whilst trying to grow. And look, if you're looking for the laptop lifestyle or the get rich quick thing, this probably isn't going to be for you. I've always been someone who's been flat out in my business. I'm looking to work with guys who are flat out in their business. But the difference is I used to work long hours doing the wrong things. I was chasing leads. I was trying to patch together kind of half-built systems. I was just winging it myself. Whereas now I focus on the right things, keeping our systems together, making sure that we're hitting the right KPIs and actually growing with some clarity. And that is the shift that I help my clients make. So the client acquisition system that I teach and that I work with my clients to deliver is made up of 4 key parts. Now the first bit is the core build. So that's when we're looking at your offer, your systems, your pricing, your targeting, making sure we get really clear on who that is, making sure that we're making enough profit margin, our CAC, our LTV, all those ratios are right so that we can actually scale the business for the long term. Once we've got that right, we go into the lead blueprint. Now, all we do there is we just copy and paste the systems that I've built across the businesses that I was talking to you about so that we can get some consistent lead flow coming in and we're not hoping that we're going to get the next referral or that someone's going to accidentally fall onto our landing page or our website. We've actually got consistent lead flow coming into the business. Now from there, we look at the sales system. So once we've got the leads, how do we qualify them? How do we follow up with them properly? How do we nurture them? And almost more importantly, how do we close those deals? How do we take people from showing interest to actually paying us money? And lastly, we've got the scale framework. So once we've got that in place, we know who we're going after, what pricing model is going to be the best for the company, what that target is, and then we've got lead flow coming in, we're closing those leads. How do we take all of that and systemize it in a way that doesn't require you to actually do that every single day and you can start working on the business rather than in the business? So the first thing that we need to look at here is the core build. Now, most guys just dive into their business and they just want to generate leads straight out the gate without having that core in place in the company, which is normally one of the biggest mistakes we see time and time again. If your offer isn't right, if your targeting isn't right, if your pricing isn't built to actually scale, then you might go and generate leads, you might be able to grow a bit, but you are going to hit an absolute wall as you start to grow and as you start to scale the business up, which is just going to decimate your growth. And if all of this is wrong, no amount of ads or outreach is going to be able to fix that. You might generate the leads, but they are going to be the wrong type of people. They're not going to be qualified, or if you can get them onto a call, onto a sales call, they're not going to convert, right? Which means that you're wasting time, energy, and money to generate the leads just for them to either be the wrong fit, not have enough money, not be qualified, or just not convert on your sales calls. So what we do first is we build the spine of your business, okay? Offer, targeting, pricing, and then look at the systems that we're going to actually use. Now, there's some specific frameworks that we can use to help us do this. However, we need to make sure that the offer speaks to the type of person that we want to be working with and who we can generate the best results for. We then need to make sure that our pricing is scalable and our CAC to LTV ratios will actually scale with the business, and that you can absorb cost, CAC, and still make a decent profit margin so that you are not just running the business for running the business sake, but you're actually making money. And then finally, we're going to lay out the back-end delivery system of the business. Because if you're the bottleneck, we need to fix that early and identify that early so that we can actually scale. Then what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the lead blueprint. Now, lead generation doesn't need to be complicated. I see so many people procrastinate about lead generation. They keep moving and shifting their focus from shiny object to shiny object. Whatever TikTok is saying is the best thing to do. They're hopping from different idea to different idea with lead generation. And ultimately, we're overcomplicating the process. So what we need to do is we need to get really focused on one method and one channel to begin with. Now, typically, if you are currently at sort of just starting out to $5,000 a month in your business, I'm always looking at the easiest way that we can do outreach to that target market, be that through DMs on social media. So you might use LinkedIn, you might use Instagram or Facebook, okay, and DMing that ideal person. It could be that we run a cold calling campaign, so actually picking up the phone, identifying that person and then speaking to them to book them in. It could be email. It could be a number of different ways that we're actually reaching out to the right person. But when we're at that starting point, we're always looking for the easiest, high leverage way that we can do outreach to your target market to start booking meetings. Now, we've got frameworks for this. We've got templates and scripts and systems and softwares that are going to make this a walk in the park, quite simply. And people overcomplicate this all the time. There is such simple ways to do this outreach that we can book consistently for the business. So just getting started, we're going to look at that. Once we actually begin to get some traction in the business and we start to make a little bit of cash flow, or maybe you're watching this at the moment, you're doing maybe 5 to 10 grand a month, that's the point there where I would start layering on top some paid advertisement, using basic channels, basic campaigns to actually generate leads that don't require you to do the outreach. So that's kind of the next step of that lead process. Now, once we've got the lead blueprint in place in the business, you're going to find yourself in a position where you're not waking up praying that someone sends a message into your inbox. You're not going to be hoping and scratching around. The idea of the lead blueprint is to have consistent, predictable, repeatable ways that you just execute and leads come in, okay? These are people that are raising their hand or answering back to you to say, yes, this is for me, you can help me, right? And once we've got that in place, it takes so much pressure off of a business when you know that you can generate leads almost at will. It takes so much pressure away from you as the operator of the business, as the owner of the business, because you know that you can just run the same playbook, the same blueprint, and actually generate those leads for the business. Now, once we've got those systems in place, or once you've got that in place in your company, what you want to look at is the sales system. Now, when I say sales, people think about conversion, people think about sales calls, but there's so much more to it than just that. The big thing that people miss out all the time when they're looking at their sales process is the follow-up and the nurture process of that lead. Now, there's a couple of things that we need to look at here, okay? So once you've generated your leads, once they're starting to come through fairly consistently, the first thing that we need to do is qualify. You'll note at the beginning of this training, I said that we're looking for 10 qualified sales appointments in the diary every single week, not just sales calls. Now, qualification is a massive part, and we need to set the criteria of what a qualified lead, what a qualified sales call is, so that you, and in the long run, your team, can make sure that everybody coming into those sales calls are qualified and they fit the type of criteria that you want to work with. And most business owners don't have a real sales process. And then they wonder why they're jumping on calls, people don't show up. If they do show up, they're not qualified, they're not interested in the business, and sometimes can't even barely remember who you are or that they booked the call. Now, once you know that you've got someone who is qualified, you need to start thinking about how do we nurture this person and how do we follow up with them so that when they come into the call, not only are they qualified, but they know about you. They understand the business, they know what you're about and the solution that you're going to bring to the table so that you can cut the shit and you can get down to talking about where they're at, where they want to be, and how you're going to do that for them. Now, ideally, what we want to do is run a process that is going to close deals on those sales calls. But you may listen to this and say, well, actually, Ashley, I run a business where we need to do some sort of discovery and then a proposal, and then we sort of follow up. And that is the key here. Most businesses don't have those steps in the system to follow up with their prospects properly, to book those steps in, and also build more trust and nurture those prospects in between the gaps so that they're going from call to call with more trust, a more qualified prospect, and ultimately someone who wants to come on to the next call to get the thing that you're doing. So at this point, if you have built in proper foundations, you've got a lead generation system in the business, and now you have some element of sales process, you're going to quite comfortably be finding the right type of people, reaching out to them, or getting them to reach out to you, taking them through a nurture sequence and getting them on a call or set of calls to close those deals. Now, if the pricing is set up in the right way, your CAC to LTV or LTGP ratios are going to be set in a way that is actually generating you decent profit every month. At this stage, with these 3 simple steps, you're going to be able to add an extra 10 grand into your business. No problem at all. And actually, within the 90 days, you're going to have that consistency in the pipeline with just those 3 elements to book 10 qualified sales calls every single week and add that additional 10K, if not more, in revenue to your business. Now, the 4th step in the process here is actually the systemization, and we call this our scale framework. Now, this is for businesses that have got their offer dialed in, they've got their targeting and their pricing absolutely nailed, and the lead generation process is bringing them in consistent leads on a regular basis. The sales system is then qualifying them and getting them to show up to the calls, and we're easily hitting more than 10 grand a month every single month. At that point, when we have that consistency, we're able to then look to push the business to 30, 40, 50 grand a month and beyond through our scale framework. Now, at this point, you're no longer just the person following up with the leads and closing the deals, but actually, this is a point where we're going to remove you from this system and start to have these systems and these processes run without you. This is where you really want to start building the foundations to really start to scale the business by building in things with your SOPs, documented workflows, and your dashboards to track all of your numbers. Not to mention actually having a proper CRM system that is going to do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. And what you need to do at that point is once you have SOPs, you've got things well documented, and you've got your metrics being tracked consistently, is look at the different functions that happen throughout these systems and start to bring in people to run these for you. Now, there's different ways that you can set up these people. It can be commission basis, you can put people on base. There's outsourcing methods that we can go down to help actually scale this up without costing an absolute fortune. Because we're not looking for some bloated team of 20 people to run this simple system, but actually efficiency and a lean team to take care of the process. Now, the goal at this stage is freedom from the actual machine, right? From the actual system. You should be able to step away from your client acquisition process and it run itself, it not collapse, the numbers not dip if you're not being involved. And this is a gradual process that you want to bring in, but ultimately we need to have built the system, documented it in such a way that other people can understand and run and train those individuals so that they can execute each individual step just as well as you can, so that when that time comes, you can actually take that step back and look at other functions of the business. And doing this will slot into place in every step of the process so far, from the lead generation, doing the outbound, running ads, doing the follow-up, closing the deals, nurturing those prospects, all the way through, whether that is people that we're going to bring in and put into those roles, or whether it's automation and systems and softwares that are going to do a lot of that heavy lifting for you. Now, I would recommend that obviously if you're at a point where you aren't generating leads on a consistent basis, you haven't got a system that brings in new leads into your inbox or into the calendar every day consistently, and equally you haven't got that sales system in place, don't skip to step 4. Like, step 4 sounds like the nice place to be, and this is what we see all the time, like guys who they try and get some leads, they kind of get something a bit scrappy together, and then they try and get someone else to do it for them. And this is where businesses kind of cave in on themselves very, very quickly. And you may be someone like this, right? Who is in and out of your sales process, your client acquisition process, because if it's not you actually doing it, shit just falls apart. And it's probably because you've skipped steps. You haven't got the right systems, you haven't got the right SOPs, you haven't got the right people or softwares in place to actually take care of things. And this is why it's really important to go through this in a step-by-step process, so that not only do we have the foundations in place, we've got a strong lead generation, a strong sales process, and ultimately then we can then systemize all of it so that it can work without you. Now, you can come away from this training and you can start to put these steps in place to actually build a business that doesn't rely on winging it, firing out messages sort of sporadically when you have the time. It actually brings in new leads, new people who want to work with you, who are qualified, who do identify as someone who fits into your demographic, and actually follow up with them and nurture them properly so that you can close more deals and make more money. Now, this is the part where I make my guilt-free call to action. If you are someone who is currently stuck around 5K a month, maybe a little bit under that, maybe a touch more than that, but you are in the day-to-day of the business, but you are winging it, you can't get leads properly. If you are getting leads, they're not qualified, you're not closing those deals, and you definitely haven't got any systems in place to do the things that we've walked through in this training, then this is for you. If you're at that point and you're serious about taking your business to 30 to 50 grand a month without burning out, this is exactly what you need. I work with my clients one-on-one so that they actually get the help from me directly and all of the back-end stuff to be able to put this in their business and grow initially by 10 grand a month, but scale their companies to 30 to 50 grand a month. So if you would like to have a conversation, there is a link in the description where you can book a call with me. There's no closer, there's no salesperson. You'll just come on a call with myself, make sure that this is a good fit for you and you're a good fit for what I do. Or alternatively, you can message me on Instagram, just say one-on-one, and we can have a quick conversation there to make sure you're a good fit before jumping on a call. And if not, no problem at all. Just take the lessons from this training, put them into your business, because if you can implement that 4-step process, you are going to generate a minimum of 10 qualified appointments every single week. You're going to add 10 grand a month as a minimum to your business if you can just get that system in place. Now, I appreciate you taking the time. Hopefully this was really helpful for you and give you some clarity in terms of what you can do in your business. And if you want to be working with myself, as I say, click on the link, grab a call, or shoot me a message on Instagram, say one-on-one, and I will speak to you very soon.